Welcome to Albion TV presents the AO Daily Show, your source of real news in an unreal world, keeping you up to date on the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Wednesday, the 11th of September, and I am your host, Shozen, and with me today is my co-host, Bogul. How are you doing, Bogul?
Good morning, Shozen. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I brought my character out here with his snazzy 8.1 gear. Prove I actually paid
To
for
show
all those.
off?
Well, to prove that I actually spent those tomes. People were like, "I don't believe you that you actually tomed up." Nope, totally did. Totally tomed up.
All right. Okay.
So it happens. But we have more important news than Shozen toming up on the show today, don't we, Bogle?
We do. We have a few nuggets of official news. We do have a little update on the NDA patch notes by Retroman. We do have a little bit of a word by Mythosyria on some UI changes. We also have a few, actually one exclusive roundtable leak or
we have an exclusive
content
leak.
piece we can discuss, or at least the idea of a thing. And then we have a few community plugs for you later today. But we hope to spend the second part of the show discussing roundtable stuff.
Oh yeah, we do love talking about the roundtable. It's like my fave. I just love talking about what may or may not be coming to improve our game in the future, and we've got some juicy tidbits that we can go over again today. But first, let's talk about the stuff we know is coming to the game in one form or another, and that is in the form of balance changes, Bogle. We have lots of different balance changes here on the most updated, most recent balance change list from Retro Man. What did you notice that was a big one?
Yes, well, we sort of mentioned it already, but to me, the big one is that they are looking at the sacrifice ability of the Grave God helmet not being able to be self-cast.
Where's that
anymore. They are currently apparently working around with the cooldown and the range, and they've retro tried a few varieties, but as you see in that thread, the bold changes are the most recent iterations on these patch notes, and I think that's what they're currently trying out. So if I already saw a few topics on Reddit as well, not only for this change, but other ones where people are like, yes, finally, and some other people are like, how can you do this to me? And then this is interesting.
I think it's an okay change. We're trying to, like, from everything we've seen lately, trying to get a hold on the healing in this game, because when you can overheal yourself, like as a solo nature healer, for example, you can really just make certain things uneven in our world, because you have to balance things for 5v5 and ZVZ, and that makes things like 1v1 and 2v2 much more difficult to balance with a potent healer. And right now, some forms of the healing are just too powerful. Like we've seen that the new healing sickness for self-healing, whereas if you heal yourself over and over again, here it is right here, healers are constantly healing themselves, they will get healing sickness, which reduces all incoming healing by 25. However, you can get rid of that by simply Q healing somebody else. That's
interesting.
There you go. That works, right?
Yeah, the thread has a bunch of other changes. I linked it in a Twitch chat if you want to take a look at the proposed changes. As always, these should go on the test server first and then go live with what we think will be a mid-season patch. But there is no official date announced for that yet. Our best guess, I would say, is about 2 weeks from now. Maybe more, but that's still a guess. We have, as I said, no official word that. Anything else you want to say about the NDA patch notes, or just leave it here?
Well, I mean, there's the ones that we've talked about over and over again that are kind of like being repeated. We could talk about how like the one-handed curse is going to be so you can't reflect it anymore. That one's on here. I like that. The changes to healing for Sacred Pulse, that's going to be an interesting, because it really changes the spell quite a bit. It's going to be interesting to see how that actually works. Before it was kind of like, just knocking people off of nodes and stuff, a lot of use in Arena. We'll see how it gets used now. I'm looking forward to seeing if Holy can gain more foothold into the current meta. I mean, you can see it now lately with the Holy Orb just bouncing back between people. It's getting really significant heals off.
Hmm.
And if they can find other ways to make heal just a little bit more, not heal, holy heals just a little bit more,
Right.
Viable, I think we would see a little bit more evening, and I'm looking forward to that. I love that we have so many different things currently in the tanking meta right now.
Hmm.
It's great. You're seeing almost every sword being used right now in GVGs. It's interesting, but we do need to do something about the dive problem. It's just all dive, all explosion, one big blow up, combo, die. And I'd like to kind of see that change, and hopefully some of these changes maybe will help some of that. Hopefully.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
None of the ones I mentioned. That is true. I didn't mention any of the ones that will help save the dive meta. But some of them are in there. If you parse through it yourself, you can go ahead and check that out. Don't worry. It's there.
Uh, I wanted to pick up a little hidden gem that was posted by Mythosyria in the feedback and suggestions forums. I saw that name, Schwurbelstein, asking about the mail system on the very top, and in a response to this inquiry, Mythosyria confirms that the UI team is currently working on changes to the mailbox system. And I went ahead and asked what that means specifically, because we know that the UI has been getting a rework for, I think, the last year almost already.
It's been going for a long time. Like it's been little integrations here, there, other places. You saw some big ones, like when the new tutorial came out. We saw some big UI changes when they changed the layering to player skins so that they looked better with the new meshes. That was a big change to the graphics overall of the game. But we've seen
but specific UI, I mean because the reason why I went in that thread and asked about whether or not it's just the looks or actually functionality is because there's a few gripes with the current mail system. And I get that little nugget out of her where she says that they are working on both, not just the looks, but also the functionality. But sadly, there is no ETA. So we can either rant for like 15 minutes about what we don't like about the mail system, or we can just
say two things you don't like about, just two. Give me two things, Bogul, that you don't like about the mail system.
I want to be able to select the market messages only or the gold messages only.
And get rid of them all.
Yeah.
Remember when we did that interview with the Iron Bank like forever ago? It was over 2 years ago. We talked to the guys from the Iron Bank who spent a lot of time buying and selling gold, and they put in a customer support ticket because they couldn't get through all their mail.
Oh yeah, the guy was the only thing he did when he logged into Albion with like 2 accounts. He made like gold buy and sell orders. That's all he did, right? I exaggerated, but And then customer support went, well, you can try to delete them manually. And then he did the math because he's good at math, and
I'm not good at
came
math.
out. He came out to something about like 40 or 80 or something straight hours of just deleting mail before he could delete all of them. And that was like, oh, okay.
It was something like, it was like roughly 2 weeks if he slept. Like if he was to sleep, it was like
okay.
He said it was like he said you could delete a certain number of them in a minute, and if you averaged out at that number per minute, and that meant like super paying attention and clicking as fast as you could. Like this was as fast as he could delete some in a minute, and then you multiplied that by an hour, and then multiplied that by you could get 16 hours in a day if you slept 8 hours a day, and he was like, it would still take me 2 weeks. This is. But
so I guess
hopefully,
yeah. No, I just wanted to say, I guess the official Albion TV rating on that feature is overdue. But
yeah, there's a couple of things.
Now I've said my piece. Now we can move.
Okay, now we can move on. We can move on. All right. So, Bogul, this morning I was flipping through Twitch, and I came across Glan FM. who is one of the guys who's part of the Realm Gate. The Realm Gate is the group of streamers who are out there trying to make life easier for newbies, right? Isn't that who they are? You've got...
I don't know necessarily about newbies, but they are a streamer collective. That's what I know, yes.
Yes, and from what I've seen, they have like 3 episodes as a newbie podcast out there trying to, help newbies, just like we do. Everybody wants to help the nubs. But theirs is pretty good. These guys are very experienced gamers and very experienced Albion players who give some really good tips over 3 different episodes, and you can check them out if you go to YouTube and then type in the Realm Gate Albion Online and type that away, hit the search button. You go and find these sweet dudes. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, they have a team, I think it's called on Twitch. But as you mentioned, they have this newbie podcast. And did you mention I was Googling stuff. Did you mention their recent content for this episode? Did you have a chance to listen to it, or?
I listened to a little bit of it, and there was talk of solo dungeons when I was listening to it. And then while I was listening to it, Glenn came back from his break eating whatever it was, and he turned off the repeat. So I ended up just watching his normal stream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well.
But it was pretty good. It was entertaining for the 20 minutes or so that I watched. And I can definitely recommend all 4 of these streamers because I watch all 4 of them now that I've watched Glenn.
This specific podcast episode is about player versus player, guild-related PvP, open world PvP, how to participate, and various PvP instances. And we have Vitas, GlanFM, Kuguste, and LA Cool J having a very nice chat on it. Pro tip, if you don't have how much does it take? 1 hour and something? You can listen to it on 1.25 speed, and it's good.
Oh, you were listening to it a little bit faster, and you were okay?
I'm one of these guys, Shozen. It's like when I see a 1 hour something stream, I'm like, let's try this faster.
Yeah, I've heard of people like you, and I find that so weird. I just gotta say, I find it very weird.
I mean, they try to speak slowly and distinctly clear for newer players to understand what they're talking about. And then in my case, I'm like, all right, I know what you guys are talking about. Get to the point. Oh, okay, that's interesting information. Okay.
Okay. I see how you are. I see how it is. Bogul has no time for you guys.
Well.
Okay.
Talking about time and shoutouts and streamers, though, there is this one thing I wanted to mention briefly that I came across randomly.
I know what it is.
It's our friend Robin Hood RS doing a sort of, what is this, Iron Man challenge?
Iron Man.
Yeah.
He is Iron Man. And his rules were that when he would die, he was going to delete his character, right?
No, as far as I understand, he was trying to do like a solo self-found, completely self-built challenge from, starting a new character. But he can use premium and some other rules. But he's basically trying to do it himself, and I think in the end trying to make like a little series about this. But one of the rules is that when he dies, apparently, he has to delete the character.
Oh. So, like, if he dies, it's like right now he's downed. We're watching him down on screen. 50 Cent is down. This is like...
I sent him the message, and he's like, no, that doesn't count because
So this is like down. Getting shot 5 times and living? So
versus getting
shot 5 times and dying. So, okay, it's like, because 50 Cent's been shot, but it didn't kill him. It didn't take him down. I live down the street from 50 Cent, actually.
Okay, so that makes your...
Not anymore, he moved.
Street famous?
Well, Mike Tyson lived there, and then 50 Cent lived there, so yeah. It was a pretty famous street. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Big Bird Bridge and all that. Yeah. It's a pretty famous neighborhood.
All right, Shozen is famous. We get it.
No, not me. Right. Not me. I moved too. I'm not there anymore. I can't.
Listen, you live next to 50 Cent. How famous can you be?
pretty. All right. So, Bogul, from Robin Hood, where do we want to go? Do we want to go and start talking about some of these leaky roundtable bits that we have that we can discuss with players?
Yes. Let's start with the little confirmation that we got from Elsa yesterday, where he says there will be a dev talk out soon. Look forward to it sometime next week. And now that we saw that, we were like, oh, do we know what's in this already, Shozen?
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that you and I know what's in this. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, say no more. But
I mean, I'm pretty sure when Elsa went there and posted that she was considering to, tease the whole thing. But I think it's the polished up summary of some of the roundtable leaks that we saw 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago.
yeah. Hey, I'm a Doki is right here in chat. I'm gonna give Doki a thumbs up. There you go, Doki. And Dildo Swaggins, because that just, gotta give Swaggins a thumbs up too. Spread those thumbs around. More thumbs for Doki.
So that led us to looking back into the roundtable for a bit and thinking what we could talk about again, since we sort of did this to a longer extent already. So
we looked at this for an entire week, but we didn't look at this once. We didn't look at this twice.
Today.
We looked at this for an entire week, where we looked at the leaks from the roundtable, because in the last roundtable they talked about some very controversial subjects, such as removing GVGs from territorial combat. Like, no longer GVGs would be the main way to secure territories. They talked about a new Crystal League, and they talked about what else did they talk about in the dev talk? They hideouts. And then after all this happened, after the leak, they came back and they talked more about the smart cluster queue and of a new thing called battle confusion. So do we want to touch on a couple of these really quick, on because these are the things you're going to be hearing about in the upcoming dev talk, and we thought that, since it's coming up and we know a little bit about it, we could do a little bit of speculation onto things that we may or may not know. But Bogul, before we get into the old leaks, do you want to talk about the new leak?
Sure.
Just like real quick, because I'd like to talk about the old leaks for a little while. And we can try to plug some of those leaks, literally, because they're talking about the dev talk next. We're plugging the oh, that's so good. The dad jokes are real, Bogle. The dad jokes are real. But there's a new leak, because we're the ones leaking it right now, Bogle. Did you hear about the Adventures Challenge mounts?
I did, yes.
Ooh. So the idea was that right now, we've been getting these Challengers mounts every season, every month we get a new one. And there was discussion about kind of like putting it so that they weren't new mounts, they were just skins, right? And that really...
Yeah, that happened for the last,
it happened
2 months?
Twice, and people are not so happy right now with that. They're like, where are my real mounts? I miss my mounts with my real skills. These were really, really cool things, right? These were awesome. Like, the giant horse is pretty freaking cool. So the idea was that they discussed, and this is just being discussed, this is not confirmed. The idea would be that they would put all the special mounts from the season rewards on like a cycle, right? So that every season would have a new one, and then you'd come back around to that season again, and the mount would be up again for grabs again from completing it. So we'd have like 12 different mounts on a cycle, so that we would be able to get the mount that you missed again if you wait a year. And I really like that. I think it's an amazing idea. One of the problems that I have with these mounts is that because they're so rare, people don't use them as much as they could. And if they come back, say, with a palette swap, maybe even spread out the seasons so that you could say, like, we'll use the giant horse as example again. Like, you do a palette swap on that thing, and it could either be like an undead Halloween style mount, or a fancy schmancy Christmas mount with like Like the Budweiser horse or something, you know? It could be straight up be the
What?
Budweiser horse. You don't know the Budweiser Clydesdale? Yeah, totally would
Dude,
work.
what? No. So one problem I noticed there is that these mounts have pretty cool skills, and they are really unique as far as I can see. And the issue has always been that they climb in price so fast, right? After about 2 months, 3 months, they double, triple, and some of the challenge mounts from when the challenge first released are at like 5, 6, 7 mil. And at that price point, they become almost too fancy to use and too expensive to take out and properly use, and mostly turn into speculators items. And why not keep these new ideas, these new inventions in the game? It's almost, I feel like, having like a new set of armor or weapon that is special in some case.
Absolutely.
And then to preserve that whole idea of collection and collector's items, you could just, as you said, maybe just give them a new
skin
color
to keep them collectible. Like, because I want to see these skills stay in the game, and my worry is if they try to do one every month with a new skill, like, it just won't happen. Instead, we will get skins, or some of the spells will be broken and the spells will be removed, and maybe it'll put a bad taste in your mouth because they add the wrong spell and it screws something up, and the next thing you know, no more special mounts. I'd rather that they made like 12 of them, kept them tight, kept the skills relevant, and made them something that you want to get again. And that if you missed it, you want to get them back. And you're not scared of losing them once, forever, because you can get a new version of it in a year.
Yeah, that should keep the prices in check. And if you do the palette swap thing, then it stays a collector's item.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of curious what chat thinks about it, and maybe we should talk about that in overtime.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in overtime. Some of them are having a little bit of a negative reaction to the idea of bringing back mounts, but then they talked about what if they were just different mounts with the same abilities. I think that's what we mean when we say reskinned. Like, that's a different mount, same ability, same stats. Similar basic style. Like, the slave car is a reskin of the ox. Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so that again is currently an internal idea that they are kicking around, and we sort of got permission to put out the feelers and get some initial thoughts from you guys, and we'd love to hear what your opinions are on these. I, for one, think it's a good idea. Shozen seems to be also on that train of thought. But yeah, still in current, how do you say that, consideration for...
Yeah, it's still up. It's still being chatted about. Like, they're still talking about whether or not they're going to do it. They haven't decided on it, one way or another. It's just in discussion, and I think they wanted feedback on it because they did drop it into the round table, and then we asked, can we chat about this too and get more feedback? And they're like, yeah, go do that. Just make sure you make it clear that this isn't a cut and dry decision. This is something we're talking about and trying to get a few thoughts on. And so maybe we could just borrow Funstealer. If Funstealer's got so many extra thoughts, maybe he could just give him some of his thoughts, and then we wouldn't have to worry about going to other people for thoughts. I mean, the guy has lots of thoughts.
But I think we need to finish up the show with a little summary of what we think is going to be in that dev talk, Shozen. You already started on that. You want to finish your thought there? Or?
Yeah, so basically we saw it's broken into a few different points, and some of them are, like, it's all based around the idea that the territory control is going to be moving from 5v5 to ZVZ. And what are these other mechanisms that are going to be put in place to make that work in a way that doesn't make it so GVGs feel like they're going away, they still feel relevant, while also allowing for ZVZs of multiple sizes. So they discuss a couple of things. If we start talking about, like, the ZVZs, for example, right off the bat, we'll talk about that. The idea that you would have a smart cluster queue, so that as more people joined a zone than could be in a zone at once, the game would remove people in a way to balance it out so that you can have an even fight. That sounds like it's going to be interesting to see how that ends up working. I'm sure we'll get more information on that. This dev talk, I don't know when it's going to be. We'll definitely hear more about battle confusion, which just kind of came out of nowhere as a response to this leak. Do you remember battle confusion, Bogle?
Well, as far as I remember, it is that if you bring more than a certain amount of people from your, I think, alliance into the same zone, then you all get a slight negative debuff, and it scales the more people you bring. I
Well,
the
it scales the more people that you outnumber your opponent. So as you like, they talked about like example numbers of 25 versus 25. As soon as you started having more than that, and having more than your opponent who had like say 25, you would be getting debuffed, and you'd start getting weaker and weaker because of the number of people in the battle, and the din of battle, the noise of battle, the confusion of battle just makes your overly large force weaker at a scaling percentage. So that if you had, two groups of 50, they would be scaled at the same rate. Whereas if you had one group of 25 and one group of 75, the group of 75 would have scaled in a rate where the group of 25 is, per man, more powerful. Yet if you were to bring the force of all 75 at once, it would, in theory, be too much for that 25 man to take, unless they were really good bangers like Zorn or Frog One. Somebody good. People are like, Zorn, good? Really? Yeah. Prove me wrong. Southwest Anglia, go for it. Go kick them out. See what happens. Yeah. But let's see. Then we had the third thing was that Crystal League. And the Crystal League is the idea that they want to have something that still gives value to GVGs. And at first they talked about this idea of just a 10 rank league where you would get a token, and then as you won, your token would rank up, and you would be matched against people with similar rank tokens to you. So if you had a rank 4 token, you could go against another person with a rank 4. You had a rank 7, you can go against a rank 7. You have a rank 10, you can go against a rank 10. And they scaled this in such a way so that your lower level battles, your rank 1 through 4, would occur every day, and then your battles that are above that would be on a rotating schedule, so that you would have them, I don't know, be consolidated, so you get more of the top teams to fight at the same time would be one way to think about it, and also to allow for people to get greater rewards, with the tier 10 basically happening once a season, right? Isn't that what they said? Like a tier 10 tower would happen once a season, or was it once
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because it takes a couple of months to even get there because of the way that you would only get T7 once a month. So
maybe tier 8 or 9.
Yeah, it's you got T7, then you have and T8 and T9 all occur at the same time, I believe, once a month. But I could be wrong. We'll hear more information on that in the dev talk, I imagine. I believe that is something that will be cleaned up. But they added something to that, so it wasn't just about this league, which I thought was a good idea in and of itself. But because people were so frustrated with the idea of taking away something so important from GVGers, of territory control, they said, well, how about this? When your tower ranks up, that tower itself will start increasing the viability of the zone that it's in. So that if you have a T7 tower, your resource rates are better, your guards are better, it just makes everything in the zone better. The whole zone, not just the area right around the tower like it is currently, where you have your bonus for gathering right around the tower, but the whole zone would get better. And that would make it so that, when it came to territory defense, that really gets the whole guild interested in defending that. And so that you're going to get that same kind of response that you would get on an invasion day, where your whole guild shows up to do something. That's the kind of thing you would get, if your big towers were under attack.
Yeah. Yes, I can't wait for a bunch of this to be in the public, and to be under a larger microscope for scrutiny as well. Because that first iteration might come out a little differently than we saw it so far in either the leaks or the roundtable even. And I'm fairly convinced that most of it will be fairly similar. But still, there could be surprises, and I can't wait to have that confirmation out there and start a good discussion on, the future of territory control, the future of Albion and almost Albion 2.0, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely going to be, it definitely will feel like Albion 2.0 or maybe even 3.0, because I feel like when we went from beta 2 to beta 3, it feels like Albion completely changed.
I don't think beta counts anymore.
Okay,
I think
okay.
1.0 is release, and
All
then
right,
we have to
all right.
go from there.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I still think it was like 1.3, and now we're on like 1.7.
Okay, so yeah, is that it for
I think
today's show?
for the official show, sure, but we will be right back with overtime where we will discuss things with the chat. We'll answer their questions. We'll go after some of their thoughts on what we were talking about, go into more depth, and we will discuss this again ad nauseum when the dev talk comes out. We'll probably make an entire show, and that'll be the only news we cover that day is the dev talk. So, on that note, you can check us out Monday through Friday at 18 UTC right here at twitch.tv/Albion Online. And if you can't do it right on time, you can always listen to the podcast at soundcloud.com/AlbionTV or on YouTube at youtube.com/AlbionTV. And don't forget, you can also check us out, Tuesday through Thursday with our special Albion Live, where we actually cover GVGs and Crystal GVGs at 19 and 20 UTC. Don't know if that's happening today. I will warn everybody that there is a chance that Lupac might not make it today. He's currently dealing with some baby situations, as there's a new baby on the way for a Lupac. There's a new Lupac on the way, like a miniature version, and may or may not be able to make it. But wish him the best, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon, including the guys who are still going to be here in 2 minutes. So we'll be right back. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. I'm opening the raffle is open, guys. There is a raffle open, and it's the second half of the early bird special. Go ahead and get in on that.